Hi everyone and welcome to your weekly comprehension this week. Last week we focused on reading vipers, okay, and we focused on a lot of key things that we could use when we read a story to you, okay. So we're going to continue with that this week. And the story we're going to look at this week is called The Egg. The Egg. Fantastic. And it was written by M.P. Robertson. So what I want you to do now is I want you to look at the book cover and I want you to think about what it might be about. And you are going to use the stem sentence, I think, or I think this because. So you can stop the video now while you have a think and then say your sentence aloud. Okay, we are still going to focus on the predict aspect of our vipers today. You are going to now listen to the blurb at the back of the book. I want you to think about, do you still think the same is going to happen, or do you think something else is going to happen? So what would you do with a baby dragon? When the egg hatches and a baby dragon comes out, George knows exactly what to do. A dragon needs to learn dragony ways, including how to fly, how to breathe fire, and how to defeat a knight. So George starts the dragon on lessons right away. The dragon learns quickly, but he is anxious to find his own kind. Then George wakes up one morning and his little dragon is missing. Will George ever see his dragon again? So pause the video now while you have a think and to see if you think your prediction is still the same. I'm now going to continue to read the story for you. Throughout the story, I'm going to be asking you a number of questions based on our vipers. So as I said, we've started with predict. Let's see what else we can do today. George knew something wasn't right when he found more than he had bargained for under his mother's favourite chicken. So you can see up here the chicken, and then he's found something underneath. What do you think might be underneath the chicken? And is that big? He moved the egg to the warmth of his bedroom. For 3 days and 3 nights, he read the egg stories. You can see he's sitting on top of the egg up here, reading the stories. Now, a vocabulary question for you. What does the term rumble mean in this sentence? On the 3rd night, the egg started to rumble. So have a think. You can pause the video if you are unsure, and I'm going to go through what it means. So rumble is to make or move with a low, heavy, continuous sound. So for example, I've used rumble in a sentence down here. There was a rumble of thunder last night. Okay. Something was hatching, and it definitely wasn't a chicken. So looking at this eye, what do you think is going to happen next? What do you think will hatch out of the egg? When the dragon saw George, it gave a chirp of delight. So now we're going to focus on inferring. So what was George feeling when he saw the dragon hatch? And why do you think this? So if you were standing in George's shoes, if you were George, how would you be feeling right now if you had a dragon hatch out of one of your eggs at home? George didn't speak dragon, but he knew exactly what the dragon had said. Mummy! George had never been a mother before, but he knew that it was his motherly duty to teach the dragon dragonary ways. The first lesson he taught was the fine art of flying. So you can see he took him up to the top of the roof, and then he was learning to fly. The second lesson was fire and how to breathe it. The third lesson was how to distress a damsel. As you can see here, He's got his sausage and he's trying to cook it with his fiery breath. And the final lesson was how to defeat a knight. So you can see they're doing some role play, the dragon and George playing together. Every evening, as all good mothers should, George read the dragon a bedtime story. One night, as he read from a book of dragon tales, the dragon looked longingly at the pictures. A sizzling tear rolled down his scaly cheek. The dragon was lonely. He was missing his own kind. What do you think they mean by own kind? The next morning, the dragon had gone. George was very sad. He thought he would never see his dragon again. But 7 nights later, he was woken by the beating of wings. Excitedly, he pulled back the curtains. There, perched in the tree, was the dragon. George opened the window and clambered onto his back. You can see up here, he's climbed onto his back. Okay, so what does clambered mean? Clambered is another word for climbing. They soared into the night, chasing the moon around the world, over oceans and mountains and cities. Faster and faster they went until they came to a place that was neither north, not south, east, nor west. Where do you think they are going? They swooped down through the clouds into a cave that gaped like dragon's jaws. This was the place where dragons lived. The dragons gave out a roar of delight. He was home at last. How do you think the dragon is feeling now that he's home with the rest of his family? Finally, it was time for George to leave. Up, up they flew, chasing sleep through the night, until they could see his home below. George hugged his dragon tight, and the dragon gave a roar. George didn't speak dragon, but he knew exactly what the dragon had said. Thank you. So that is the end of the story. So we've done a lot of our questions already. So we focused on vocabulary, we've done our inferring and predicting. We are now going to focus on the last 3 types of questions. Okay, so the first question is, who is your favourite character and why? The second is to retrieve. So what happened when George awoke at night by the sound of beating wings? And finally, I want you to sequence. So what was the first thing that happened in the story? So you have to think back right to the beginning and see what might happen. So stop the video now while you have a think and answer some of these questions. You might want to answer some of the questions on some paper. So who is your favourite character? You might want to draw on a piece of paper and then write a sentence explaining why. And then finally, I've got 2 activities for you at the end if you'd like a challenge. So imagine you have your own egg. So imagine you wake up and you find an egg at the end of your bed. What would you want it to hatch into? And then, can you write a list of lessons like they did with the Dragon School that you will need to teach your hatchling? And that is the end of our comprehension for today. I hope you enjoyed the story, Year 1. Bye.